have a different background. Welcome to Jessistories. I'm in the middle of getting new carpeting and switching my background, so you might see some switches throughout. Today, I'm going to react to my abusers. They did a recent interview on Canadian news, CTV. If you are new here, I'm Jessi, aka Jessistories. You might have seen me, well, a very little bit of me in Escaping Twin Flames on Netflix. This is an inclusive space. If you're part of LGBTQIA+, so am I. So this is a safe space to be you. I cover queer voices in my queer section. I actually have playlists if you go to the playlist section on my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, thanks so much for being here. If you're listening to me talk and enjoying this, please like, subscribe, leave comments below, help the algorithm out, because the algorithm isn't the biggest fan of LGBTQIA+, unless you're already a known person within the world, whether TikTok did it or some other one did it, as in social media. I have already watched it a few times, so this time is going to be me explaining everything on my side and the things they bring up. I'm also going to be leaving below the hour and 30-minute version where you get to see my friends Angie, Victoria, because Angie's Canadian, Angie, Victoria, and Keely talked their side of the story, which I believe Avery did an amazing job of getting both sides and looking for receipts, which it seems only one side had receipts. So if you want to see the longer version, down below will be a link plus other reaction videos that I've found too so far. So I will be explaining. Not much of a reaction because it won't be my first time watching it. And this version is the 45, 46-minute version, which is just focused on Jeff and Shaleia and their answers. I will be still replying to it from my own experience and my own dealings when I was part of Twin Flames universe, since I am an ex-member and I'm one of those whistleblowers of an ex-member. Okay, thanks so much for being here with me. I'm just a little nervous. But the best part about speaking your truth is you guys get to come with me. I take what they say because I have a very interesting interview. In my personal opinion, it feels very ungrounded and not in reality at all. But that's just my own personal opinion. All right. Give me one moment because I'm going to be screen recording on my phone. So I'm going to go to the video and we'll have it probably up here on the screen, very likely, so you guys can view it with me. And please check out links below. Let's begin this interesting time period.
I feel that there wasn't really a time, like there wasn't really a space to share our story. So when we would poke our heads out, so to say, it was just outrage, outcry, like that's not a conversation, that's just being around a reaction.
So this is just 30 seconds in. So Shaleia, aka Shaleia, she's saying that there was a reaction to our, which they call docudramas, which if it was an actual docudrama, it would be like with actors, paid actors in it, in a series, not a docu-series, which is truth. They have to have backup and evidence in order to show what's on the screen. And they did have opportunity even for Netflix, Amazon. They had a reporter in their house. That was Alice Haines was the first one. Avery Haines would be the second. This awesome Canadian interviewer. They had many opportunities, so they weren't waiting. They were just waiting to have something to show for, some type of receipt. They do have a little bit of receipts of the emails, and replies. Some of those were not nice. They might have not been great to me, but I'm not for hate like that, regardless of what they did. So she's kind of going over the reaction. They call it a cancel culture, which it's really not. Avery and this is going to start to try to give them accountability and responsibility, like adults take responsibility. They get many opportunities to do so. Let's see what they actually end up doing. So we're going to continue. This is only 30 seconds into what Shaleia is saying.
We just wanted to have time to let things kind of calm down and cool off and hopefully create a space where we could come out and speak, because we really did want to, but it seems that it just wasn't our time.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. So now we're 45 seconds in. So she says they didn't really want to. come out and talk, but they feel like they had to. Well, when you're lying and it's so blatantly clear you're lying, you need to come out and speak and tell the truth, which they do a little bit in this, but I find it interesting and it makes sense that they didn't want to come out and say anything on this, considering they've had years and years and they've had many different, even Sarah Berman gave them opportunity to say their part, which they did, and she wrote it in the first article. I'm going to leave all receipts down below. So you can see the hour and 30-minute interview of this. You can see the reactions so far. You can see articles, including my own. I will also leave the behind the scenes of Escaping Twin Flames from my channel below. So just check it out. It's just ADHD kicking in. Let's continue to hear what they have to say.
Do you feel as though you both have been canceled?
Undoubtedly. I mean, this is a textbook example of cancel culture.
Explain that for me.
Well, you know, I think she's probably the better person to explain that. She's the one doing all the studying of it all. So.
Well, it's just that there was a reaction towards us, and it caught fire, and then it got shared all around the internet, and it got picked up.
I just find this so genuinely great. So Avery asks, so can you explain cancel culture to me? And you see as Jeff struggles to come up with something. So anytime he's struggling, he just hands it over to Shaleia because he doesn't have a genuine answer and he doesn't know actually himself, because he doesn't do much. And it shows a lot in this interview too. You can even see his reactions, his little miniature reactions, and how uncomfortable he is, and the sweat is starting, and he moves around a lot. These are all signs of discomfort. And the only time you're uncomfortable is when you're not fully telling the truth, at least in psychology terms. And I'm not a psychologist in any sense. I have my degree, at least my bachelor's, but not any higher. But let's continue to listen to their side. And unlike them, I will still be considering their side too. There's two sides, and they continue putting it, at least in this interview, they continue putting it back on the whistleblowers, such as myself and others, instead of taking responsibility. I take responsibility for joining. I take responsibility for the horror I endured, and I take responsibility for leaving and for what they did afterwards, which you can see what they did afterwards in my Medium articles. And I started a Substack too. Okay, I'll continue that at the end. We continue listening to, as he hands it over to Shaleia, because he doesn't know what cancel culture is, in my personal opinion.
And then it just kept snowballing and snowballing, and to, what we have now. And yeah, there just wasn't an opportunity for us to really share our side.
Jeff, what do you think the public's perception of you is, and where are they wrong?
I think they think I'm not a nice person and that I hurt people, and it could not be further from the truth.
The words that have been used to describe you are narcissistic, coercive, bully.
Not true.
Cult leader.
Yeah, not true.
Goes this from the perception of Jeff, what everyone sees him as. So if you listened to what Shaleia just said, she had a nonsense answer, a answer of, yeah, certain bits and pieces of that is information of what cancel culture is, but it's not the entirety of what it is. I personally don't know the definition, so there's that. I didn't look it up, but I will. I just wanted to have genuine reactions of me just personally doing this. Now is the fun part. We get to hear what Jeff thinks everyone thinks of him, which he's not wrong, by the way.
And that you have destroyed people's lives.
Not true. Not true at all.
But so why are you the lightning rod for so much hate? Why is that?
I think because we love people.
It doesn't make sense, Jeff. The equation doesn't add up. People who love don't usually receive hate. I just don't.
That's not true. That's not true. Look at history.
Thing I'd like to point out in this, at least in the hour and 30-minute one, the receipts of the ex-members are in that video, so please watch. Everything they say in here, they don't have any evidence backing that up. The only thing they have evidence of, if you see in the hour and 30-minute kind of documentary, they only have receipts of the hate emails, hate responses. That is their only evidence. They can't back up these because you can't take away someone's personal experience with you. And they're trying to do that in this interview, which is normal by narcissists' rule playbook, which you can see their personalities come out, which there's multiple ones throughout this just 48-minute, 53-second interview. They switch personalities so quickly, but you get to see little bits of the real Jeff and Shaleia too. Little bits of holding back the anger, holding back what they're actually feeling. And you can see they're not very good at regulating their emotions. Like, if you can't take responsibility for your own doing and you put it on a community to pay for what you did, that's not taking responsibility, and they get many chances. Avery's really good at pushing and trying to get the truth, which she does get a little bit of each. She does a really good job. So thank you, Avery. I'm sorry for our government. That's not how the people in America feel about Canada at all. I still count you as a neighbor regardless. Actually, where I live, we have a friendship day for Canada and Mexico, where I live. Anyway, we shall continue.
But so why are you the lightning rod for so much hate? Why is that?
I think because we love people.
It doesn't make sense, Jeff. The equation doesn't add up. People who love don't usually receive hate. I just don't.
That's not true. That's not true. Look at history.
Okay, tell me.
Well, I'm not the.
Well, you look at, for instance, like a lot of like historical figures, like Martin Luther King, like he loved, and he was loving not just the black community, but loving the white community and loving the world, and he received a slew of hate, led to his assassination. You know, or like, I don't know.
Here we go. Comparing themselves Martin Luther King Jr. Two straight white cis people comparing themselves Martin Luther King Jr. That is a diss to the Black community and everyone who loves Martin Luther King Jr. I love Martin Luther King Jr. He was a badass who stood up for justice. They are not like that at all. They are grifters, in my personal opinion. So this is the first person they compared themselves to. They're not loving at all. They are out to get money, as we all know. Even the reactions below, they were very smart people that did reviews down below, and I appreciate them very much so. So thank you for that. Okay, here we go. We're going to continue listening who they compare themselves to, because they're supposedly loving people.
These docudramas and this cancel culture takes everything super out of context to make it look like I'm some megalomaniac who's using these strange titles to claim power, or they say that I think I'm Jesus.
Jesus, they're using to compare to. They're kind of already giving off the truth of how they see themselves as godly and godlike, comparing themselves to Jesus. That Jesus got hate, but Jesus was helping the poor and not asking money for it. Just to add a little comparison there, because I grew up Christian/Catholic, I guess, since half my family was Catholic, half was Christian. I mainly went to Christian churches, but I went to a few Catholics. So hearing this, she's not really speaking the full truth of that. Jesus didn't go, here, give me your money and I'll help you out. Where do you need help? That's grifting. He was not a grifter. But let's continue them comparing themselves to historical figures that are nothing like them, in my personal opinion.
Do you believe that you have a direct line to God and that God tells you what's good for your followers, what's good for your community?
That's a silly misperception and a twisted way to present how we operate in a relationship with our students. So first of all, everyone has a direct line to God, and that's what we teach. And for us, God is love itself. And God is a loving, conscious being that created us. And we all have a direct line to God. We all know love in our hearts, and we can all choose to follow the direction that love is leading us or not.
Jeff's explaining there's some truth to this in the community, that he does say everyone has it, but he also adds in the community, as you've seen, Jeff and Shaleia are the highest ones. Everyone else can't see what he can see or she can see. That's part. So he's partially telling the truth here, not fully. So at least we get a partial truth. But most of the time when someone's manipulating you, there's partial truths with lies. So right now, working on the manipulation of the public, in my personal opinion.
Like, if you're a parent, you know if your child is gonna do something that's going to harm them, and you can direct them otherwise. Don't put your hand on that stove.
Do keep in mind, Avery's using evidence from actual videos and possible paper proof too. I don't know about the paper proof, but I know definite videos of him saying it himself. He's the Master Christ. He's Jesus, the second coming. There is actual evidence of that. And I love that she does highlight this eventually because, again, they have no evidence backing this. They're just doing word salad and trying to cover their tracks, but not doing a very good job of it, in my personal opinion.
And if you have a toddler, they wouldn't know any better. You have a more mature perspective in this area of life. And so you would lovingly direct them not to. And if they're just about to, you might yell, "Hey, don't do that!" And, you probably have seen me yelling at my students. It's not abuse, and no one at the time.
Apparently it's a misperception, though he just was explaining it, of the Master Christ and stuff like that, of seeing himself as Jesus. Apparently, let him continue explaining this part.
Felt like it was abusive, and we had many dialogues along the way. Hey, let's talk about our teaching style. Everything was on the table for open discussion. No one had a problem with it. In fact, people felt really loved and cared for when I would yell at them in classes. They felt like someone cares about me enough to yell at me, because it's uncomfortable to yell at people. I don't want to do that if I don't have to, but I love these people. I want to see them grow. I want to see them thrive.
Then he goes into a child analogy. Since I know a lot of people who were never in the group don't fully understand this, I just understand it because of years of listening to him talk. So he's using the child analogy to try to relate to people. He doesn't do a very good job because manipulating people isn't the same as a child putting their hand on a hot stove. It's just not the same. You're instead putting people in hot water, the frog analogy that Victoria uses and Keeley has used too. That's what he does. He puts you in water and boils it gradually, similar to a situation happening right now in America. But we'll continue. Let him continue using that analogy, which is him trying to relate.
Cared for when I would yell at them in classes. They felt like someone cares about me enough to yell at me, because it's uncomfortable to yell at people. I don't want to do that if I don't have to. But I love these people. I want to see them grow. I want to see them thrive. And so I put myself on the line in order to be able to help people.
He's using the child analogy to say, this is why I yell at people. And it's actually okay. But let's continue hearing his reason for yelling at people.
The people who are no longer in the Twin Flames universe will describe their feelings towards that in a completely different way.
I felt it was abuse at the time, but I had to mirror it. So he's speaking from what he thinks people think, but he's not me. So he doesn't know how I feel or how I felt. So I was told when I was there, when he was yelling or belittling us, especially as a coach, you need to do the mirror exercise. So all you're doing is turning that on yourself. So you're just abusing yourself in return of the abuse you're already receiving. So yes, it's by far abuse, as he's trying to convince everyone it's okay to yell. It's not abusive. It's okay to turn it on yourself. It's actually healing, the mirror exercise. So let's continue. So that's my personal opinion and how I felt. I did feel abused, but I had to turn it on myself and I forgot it from there because of the abuse of the mirror exercise, which is an abusive form of not healing, of actually furthering into things you would have never had. I came out of the cult with PTSD. I did not go into it with it.
Of course. Is it okay if I grab some water?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Do you know where my Fiji went?
No. You may need to get a new one.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, he gets dry mouth and he talks a lot. I don't know if you want on your microphone.
So Jeff, you talk about yelling at people lets them know that you actually are showing them love.
No, but kind of.
Okay. But the people who are on the receiving end of that, who are
Sure.
no longer part of the community,
Okay.
felt bullied and manipulated and exploited by you. They felt like,
Because he can't handle the truth. He can't handle reality. And speaking to reality, he rarely does. He has a few moments of coming down to earth and replying to these realistic, evidence-based questions. He does at least 2 times in here. We're almost to 1 time. But let's watch as he gets himself some water. It's hard when you gotta come up with a way around the lies. Very hard. At least they're doing some partial truths. I give them credit there, but I'll only point out some of the partial truths. Well, all the partial truths, not some. I'll point to every time they're doing a partial truth to manipulate you, the public, in my personal opinion.
You really hurt them.
Yeah. We loved those people.
Love Avery so much. She's amazing.
And we wish them well.
If I haven't thanked you enough, Avery, I'm saying thank you again. Hopefully you see this. Or as the next member, you gave justice in amazing ways in your interview style. Thank you.
We hope that they find the healing that they seek. And it's unfortunate that they couldn't, it's unfortunate that they didn't find that with us. And we did our very best to love them and serve them and support them with what they had asked us to support them with. And we parted ways, and that's okay. We wish them well.
They don't feel well, though. They feel really damaged by their experience in the Twin Flames universe.
Okay. We did everything we could to love these people.
This whole part is him changing the narrative. So we were called liars, we were called hate squad, we were called a lot of things, especially liars. So anything we say was apparently a lie, and they'd come after us. They did come after me with a cease and desist, but they didn't win it. You'll see the article down below. Again, I'll leave everything I talk about down below. And please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment below. Any questions you have, I'll answer. Anything else you'd like to see, I'm still working on the Two-Spirit cohort video. I have to first write it down and take it carefully, considering it is part of my community. Anyways, this is just a change in narrative. They're only changing it because the heat is on, and a lot of, I guess, fixing positive image to make them look more positive. But the fact they're not taking responsibility isn't helping their image at all. But let's continue. In my personal opinion,
They didn't come to us, you know, without hurt, without upsets. And when you do the spiritual work, you become aware of your hurts. They're often unconscious. So this spiritual process is one of working through layers of your consciousness.
Tell me about channeling, the channeling that you receive from God.
speaking of damage, PTSD. Thanks, Jeff and Shaleia. You gave it to me. I did not have it coming in. Speaking of damage, that's one thing of damage, including I was one of a lot that were told they were a male in a woman's body. So thanks for that too. Let's continue as Avery does incredible work.
Okay.
To decide who was each other's twin flame.
Right. I just don't like the framing here. Like it doesn't line up with what our reality is.
Why does that bother you so much?
Well, there's this perception is that I'm not a nice person, and I feel like I'm being thrown in with a whole other mindset of not nice people.
They just use the mirror exercise, the layers. They always use that. And they're trying to use spirituality as an excuse to, it's okay to be abusive. Okay, let's continue as we go to channeling. Now we're going more to my story, which I'll give a little in here too. And I'm going to try to leave a link, if I can find it, to the Netflix Escaping Twin Flames, so you guys can review that too. If you're interested in any of this, I'll have all links below, so you don't even have to search for it.
Who do not nice things to people. And it's just simply not us. It's not what we do. So what you're addressing is, people say that we tell people who their twin flame is. But it's a spiritual path that you have to take on your own.
It's an honest question. Why does it bother you, Jeff? Because you're not telling the truth? Because you can't come up with a scripted line from your PR? Why does it make you so uncomfortable? That is all her questions are actually very good questions. And again, based off of what he said himself or Shaleia said herself with video proof. It's evidence-based.
Like you have to walk your path. And we know the path quite well. We're experts in our field. We've seen this happen many times. It happened in our own life. You can see when
Whole other mindset instead of other people. He can't even say people, so he doesn't see himself as human, in my personal opinion. If he can't even say people, he says mindset. Whole other mindset of people. You mean cult leaders? Well, we've already had 2 out of 3 professionals say you guys are cult leaders. There's not really anything around that. Speaking of, Avery does a great job speaking to those former members in the hour 30-minute documentary version.
something is coming up on someone's spiritual horizon, And we'll point that out. Hey, we invite you to explore. We don't make twin flames.
But there were 2 rounds. There were 2 specific rounds where people were told, you two are together, you two are together.
No, it's not like that. There's nuance to this. And we live in that fine nuance. We operate there as a community in the spiritual teaching. It's not so black and white as, you're being match made. As I just said,
You guys notice how he's avoiding the question she originally asked about channeling? He's switching over on it's your own path. And yeah, they do say that in the beginning, it's your own path. That's how they word it in the beginning to get you in there, to believe that, yep, you're on your own. You honestly don't need any gurus or anybody telling you anything. You don't need to pay anyone to find your own path. Just find close friends too that know you. Talk to them. Talk to family if you're close to your family. If you're not, go to a psychologist you trust. Test them out until you find a good one. That's my advice. You don't need a guru or anyone who claims to be more than you.
It's an invitation to explore.
Are you denying that there were these 2 rounds of suggestions from the 2 of you on who each other's twin flame was?
We're not denying that there was an invitation to explore, but you have to
Back Avery's question, yes, there was 2 rounds. I believe I was part of the second round. I was in the group with Gabe. Okay, here we go.
take the journey for yourself. If I said to you, you might like this veggie burger, it's up to you to try to eat it or not.
Except if you're feeling so much that there's a requirement to please the 2 people who have become so important in your community. And then the choice might not be there as clearly.
Yes, they invited you to explore, but they pretty much said you have to accept this as it is because Jeff and Shaleia channeled this for you. So this is your truth. This is for you. I did do the exploring and I left and they followed me and they cease and desisted me. So they tried to make sure fear was put in me and that I wouldn't ever speak again. And look, here I am. Okay, anyways, we continue.
We don't encourage that kind of power dynamic.
Yeah.
You don't?
No.
No.
Really? I mean, you're their guru, right?
I have to intervene again. Sorry, we're only 10 minutes in. So you can explore without anyone telling you anything. You can explore whatever you want. Your sexuality, you can explore traveling, you can explore education, you can explore books. I love books personally, so I have favoritism towards that. You can explore anything and everything on your own without anyone telling you or inviting you to do so, in my personal opinion.
Your words have weight.
They do.
Yeah.
You look dubious.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, you seem super defensive.
I feel that the framing is unfair.
But I'm asking you questions based on what's out there from your own videos.
I just love how he says, we do not encourage that type of power dynamic. Evidence, please. All evidence says otherwise. That's literally what the power dynamic is, from my experience and personal opinion of what exactly Avery said.
On
But
your own
it's
videos.
taken out of context.
Then how do you explain how harmed people feel? I mean, there are people who, I think you've called them your hate squad. There are people who feel as though you tried to tell them that they were in the wrong gender, that they needed to change gender. Not 1, not 2, but a number of people.
Sure, I'm happy to address, these concerns. We are very,
She's defensive, and no, it's not fair. You've had more chances to speak than anyone. Now we're speaking up and now getting more chances than ever before, and they can't handle the heat of hearing the truth. We can even use the Bible technically, but that wouldn't feel right to me because I can think of one line very easily that they've used against me actually, and everyone who was a coach. But I won't go into that. You can check it out in my memoir when I finish it. I'm working gradually through it.
gentle about this this subject because it's incredibly personal. We do not force gender change. We never have. We invite people to explore their gender polarity and see try it on, see what that is like for you.
In the Twin Flame community at large, not just Twin Flames universe, there's this belief that in a twin flame union, there's a divine feminine and there's a divine masculine polarity, and that polarity is
he knows what to say.
attraction.
You can tell when they don't know what to say.
And so that's what we have found to be true for us and for many others. And so we invite people to explore that. I feel like that's an important part of a person.
They use gender polarity. Well, hate to break it to you both, but even in the twin flame realm of my research, there has, in fact, always been, at least in Indian culture, 2 in 1, not just one polar and the other, but non-binary has always existed in every part of history, including twin flames. If they actually had learned and studied more of what they were teaching, might have helped them out a little bit.
Spiritual journey is finding out, their sexuality, finding out their gender. I did it, when I was a teenager. I did it when I was in college. And I
Did what?
Oh, I explored my gender and my sexuality.
It's true, at least of what I've seen, but I wasn't really that big, even when I was part of the community, on that stuff, of twin flame stuff. I just learned from Jeff and Shaleia when I was in there. I didn't learn from any other, because they also told you not to, because they were apparently toxic. Anyone that wasn't Jeff or Shaleia. And again, you don't need a guru, you don't need anyone for, if you are on a twin flame journey, you can do it yourself. You know your truth. No one else knows it. You know you. Trust yourself. And yes, they teach those things, but you don't need someone to teach you those things. Any spiritual practice teaches you those things. Any of them speak the same stuff. But theirs is toxic, in my personal opinion, because it leads to giving them financial freedom and you not financial freedom.
As a teenager and even as a young girl, I knew I was attracted to the masculine. And I felt very strongly, probably in a male body. And then in college, I thought, well, I know I like the masculine energy. It could be in a woman. And so I experimented there, and I felt like, I don't know. I think maybe, a masculine in a male body. That's probably my polarity.
I love how she doesn't really go in depth of how she experimented with her sexuality. She just talks about it. She doesn't say whether she was with girls or not. It's just a word salad of circling around and around. She doesn't really say anything here about herself experimenting. Everyone experiments in life. Doesn't make them a godlike spiritual teacher.
Except your concept, the way I've seen it, is that a divine masculine cannot be in a feminine body, that body has to change to a man.
Not true. Mm-mm.
Really?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you've never suggested that somebody was in the wrong body, that they were actually a divine masculine and not a divine feminine?
So we invite people to explore their gender polarity.
But Jeff, if you have an element of control over them or sway over them,
okay,
and they hear you say that, and they know that it will please you,
that's
to
not the
adopt
relationship. That's not the relationship we invite. We're not inviting people to please us. We're inviting people to explore their spirituality, to look within themselves, to have their own personal relationship with God. It's not about me.
As you said, it's not true. Let me tell you my experience. So I was told I'm a male in a female body. And the first step, thankfully, Jessi is a gender neutral name, so I didn't have to change my name. I did need to cut my hair, which I refused to do. And then I had to change my pronouns, and I had to get used to it. And I fought it every bit of the way. And they just said I had more healing to do because I couldn't get past changing my pronouns. It really showed me how it feels to be misgendered. So I definitely know how that feels, because of my own experience, for someone who is trans and truly trans. I hope you don't get misgendered. And I'm sorry that we're in a world that is increasing to a population that doesn't deserve to be treated badly as they are. Yeah. And let's continue this. You got a little sneak peek of some more of my story. It goes way deeper than that.
It's never been about me. I don't want it to be about me.
A cynic would say, you've got a business model. And the business model relies on twin flames being found.
like say I came into the group as a divine feminine. I left the group because they claimed I was a divine masculine.
And you guys made a decision that, we've only got women. The vast majority of people who are following us are women. We need to make some of them kind of like puppet masters, men. And then we're going to tell those people are going to be their twin flames, and they must maintain that twin flame in order to continue showing the world that this twin flame works.
Sounds a lot like a conspiracy theory.
Why aren't you grounded
That's
out?
a lot of stretching going on
Well,
here.
It
where's
was
the
like an actual
stretching,
answer.
What do you know? Could you clarify what you're asking?
Yeah, but you said that there's a lot of stretching there.
Well, you have this very stretched out, tall tale about what a cynic supposes that we do here, but it's just not true.
But so what part of that was stretching? Because most of the people that were in your community are women, correct?
Yep.
Most women, interested in relationships. That's, yeah.
And
Sorry,
but
another drink of water.
okay, sure.
Definitely doesn't sound like a conspiracy theory. It sounds grounded in evidence,
Can he put his water there?
Yeah, keep
Is
it right there.
in the
That's
in my personal opinion.
fine, Jeff. No, it's fine.
I don't know how that could be any clearer. That was very clear to me.
Yeah. Okay.
The question by Avery.
Sure.
He's like bashing her. Tall tale, conspiracy.
It gets dry.
An adult would take the question and reply with an actual evidential answer to the evidence she's basing her questions off. An adult would take responsibility. There he goes again,
Yeah.
drinking some more water.
But most of your community is women.
Another awkward
And the
moment.
premise of the
with
Twin
Shaleia.
Flames universe is, amongst other things, that
In my
you're going to
personal
find your
opinion.
twin flame through the help of the spiritual work that you do and through you.
Sure.
So you've got a bit of a
You
business.
should have just grabbed it the first time, but you need an excuse to get out of the room, in my personal opinion, as to why he originally left it away from everyone.
Problem if all of your followers are straight women.
Not true.
No,
That's not our business model.
no.
Our business model is, as I said, it's to
Majority were straight. When I was there, at least, I knew very few that were not straight. I was part of the few that were not straight.
help you look within yourself and love yourself, and that produces profound effects.
How many of your followers or how many people in your community have transitioned?
I don't know, a dozen maybe.
And how many of them have transitioned with the suggestions from you or as part of the exploration with you?
In the beginning, there were quite a few, and that's many of them.
I think from what, a lot of them have shared that they were feeling this way, like even prior to meeting us. Like
Some of them broke down and cried when they got the news from you that they were actually divine masculines, even though they were women.
So it's not the correct framing. It's an invitation to explore
Same answer.
your gender polarity.
People who are no longer part of your community have said that they were told by you that they were a different gender. Are you saying that they misinterpreted what you were saying, or are you saying that I'm framing it in the wrong way?
It was pretty much giving them
I'm
answers they could have
saying and
used.
telling you what we do in these circumstances.
But it matters what they hear. So it's what you're putting out maybe is different from what they're hearing, and I'm just
He doesn't use examples of those outgoing dialogue. Most of the time it's do the mirror exercise. When I was there, that's the dialogue he's speaking of, in my personal opinion.
trying to figure out if that's
Well, there's an ongoing dialogue, and we are responsible for our part of the relationship. I can't possibly be responsible for someone else's
Yep,
part of the
I was
relationship.
one of them.
But if you tell somebody that they're the wrong gender, if they hear that, so you have former followers who believe
Continuously avoiding. He doesn't know how to answer the question. Only when you can't tell the truth do you avoid the question, in my personal opinion.
that you told them that they needed to change their gender.
It's just, it's not fair because the spirit of the community and the culture of the community is one of openness and dialogue and exploration and support, not this fearful, put you into the corner, you have to do this. It's just not true.
But I'm not getting it. I don't feel like I'm getting an answer to that.
Okay.
I just don't feel like I'm getting an answer to that. I mean, there are people in your community who paint you both as puppet masters, as cult leaders, who have a level of control over people.
Dr. Robin Stern said, sometimes gaslighters don't even know when they're gaslighting. So this is actually a good example of that, as they're trying to gaslight the public, but can't seem to get past Avery. She's a smart cookie and very professional.
Who are very vulnerable, and that you're abusing that control. And you're telling them what gender they are because it fits into your business model.
No. You know, we've again, you know, we are here lovingly supporting people on their spiritual journey. We are not puppet masters. We are not over-exercising our control to get people to do things that we want.
Here's the responsibility piece. Instead of taking what she just asked, he continues the compassion. Let me say my line I rehearsed. Thanks. That's what it seems like he's doing.
Them to do. This is difficult work.
Yeah.
And yet they're going back to what they teach. The public doesn't all understand or know fully. Unless you're part of their community, you don't understand this fully. I feel like a lot of the people that did the review down below, they have a pretty good grip. They did their research.
It was just an invitation to explore. And they were with us at the time when, you know, we were their like direct guide, and we invited them to explore, and they could have chosen, they can choose not to do it or not to, you know, like.
Again, just to go on the online idea, yes, it's online, but you're also online on your phone. And how often do you use your phone? Yes, you can turn it off, but when you turn it back on, they're there. When you turn your computer back on, they're there. And if they have your personal information, they're there. Just putting that out there. And they're not the first online cults. You can look back in my videos to see the first online cults in the 80s to exist. So online cults have existed since the 80s.
I guess they felt so invested in the community and felt so responsible for pleasing you both and listening to your words that if
And they're not the founders of Twin Flames. I actually have a video of the person who found the word Twin Flames, Alex here in America. I did a whole video on her and a little history on her, since she's the first person I did research on when I left the cult. So you can also check out those videos and I think culty stuff. That's the playlist. So again, check out the playlist section on the YouTube channel itself. Okay, let's continue.
if they didn't follow what you suggested, they would no longer be part of the community. And they were terrified of that because it had become their everything.
Yeah, we have enormous compassion for that. That's
No,
not.
but what's your responsibility in that as opposed to your compassion for it?
Well, as I said, I have enormous compassion for that if that was their experience. That's not what we aim to do. And there was never any opportunity for us to be able to address that if they were having that experience. Lots of upsets and difficult challenges come up along the way. And if you stop doing the spiritual work, one might get stuck in that upset and loop it in their mind. So it's hard to see, you know, that people had a negative experience with Twin Flames Universe and with us. And, you know, we did our best to love them. We wish them well. We hope they find, you know, the help that they seek.
Yeah, a unique case of forcing people on other people, including strangers and criminals, with proof of that. So they can use words of unique case, but no two people are the same in the first place. Just like with autism, no two autistic people are the same, but they still relate in certain areas. Just want to put that out there, since there is I guess there isn't the education part of you can still relate, even if you're not the same.
Once again, like, this is online. You can just close your browser.
Do you take any responsibility for the impact that the Twin Flames universe has had on some of the followers? You've obviously had time to reflect on.
It's funny, he uses some people need to take a step back and work on themselves. That's everything they teach. So if you're working with yourself, why aren't you with your twin flames? So he's kind of going against everything he teaches right here. And he goes further in against what he teaches, trying to cover his trail, allegedly illegal things he's doing with his wife.
The allegations against you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one thing that we got wrong was that we believed once you attained harmonious union, you found that oneness with your twin flame, your person, that you would never want to leave, that you would find that relationship to be so fulfilling and so wonderful and so beautiful that you would work through what arises in the relationship to keep it. So at first we called it permanent harmony.
But they are encouraging people. I was encouraged with mine. And we did. We talked. We had gotten to know each other still family-wise before then. We did. We did everything they asked. Everything. And they took my money and everything with the guarantee of your twin flame that you see on Amazon. I did everything they asked. I didn't get my guarantee. So false advertising.
Union. And we thought that once you arrived at that place, that you just stay there. But that didn't end up being the case. And, you know, maybe it was a little altruism from young people who found true love themselves, that it would just be exactly as beautiful for everyone else.
They do, though, because you're supposed to force yourself on them regardless. I like that she brings up the video that everyone's seen. That's a public video on YouTube. I think it's public because it's part of their Twin Flame Ascension School, technically, which they speak of multiple times of stuff like this, of what I remember, but it's been so long. I don't remember every video.
That it was for us, but the reality was that everyone has a unique case and their challenges were different, and some people found that, you know what, I really don't want this, and that's okay. You know, they move on with their lives, and some people found, well, this is too hard, this is too close, I need to take a step back and work on.
Funny, he talks about respecting boundaries, yet he's telling you to push them constantly, and even here, you see him go into... I like what one person said down below, and there's God Jeff, the God world of explaining, yeah, you got to do it every day. If you don't, what's the point? Pretty much. That's what it sounds like to me he's saying. Which, yes, that still is rape, plain and simple, in my personal opinion.
Myself, and that's okay, they can do that too. Everyone gets to take it at their own pace.
But what about connecting people within the community, young women with people who have...
I think it's funny she says that's vile, yet she's condoning it and allowing it, in my personal opinion, and has been for years.
Criminal records, and them being in situations that are dangerous, and them always having to reflect back on what they're doing wrong to not make this violent relationship work.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on here that's not really in our control. We're not encouraging people to get into relationships with violent people. That's not the frame here.
And what about the allegation that your teachings validate on some level rape?
That's absurd. I'm sorry. That's absolutely absurd.
That if you're with your twin flame...
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you there. There's absolutely...
Actually asked that. It does feel like a disassociation moment. In my personal experience, sometimes you can't hear. If you had a traumatic event, you disassociate and leave whatever the conversation is. And it kind of feels like that, in my personal opinion, that back then maybe she was possibly a victim, in my personal opinion, for her to have this complete blank moment and re-ask for the question, which there's nothing wrong with re-asking for a question. I do it a lot too, but sometimes when I disassociate myself, being autistic, disassociation and having PTSD, disassociation is common.
No validity to that in any way. We strongly encourage people to respect people's boundaries. We have an enormous respect for people and their sexuality, and we would never, ever...
Yes, he's disapproving, and then you're gonna see them change into these trying to be loving, amazing people that their community sees them as. They're playing the role. Watch as their roles change. And it suddenly lights in a very heavy topic where you shouldn't be treating it this way. You should be thinking logically and being grounded in your answer. I don't see them grounded at all in this answer. Just word salad and circle, circle, circle. If you had the truth and evidence, it wouldn't be a circle game.
Encourage anything remotely close to that.
Yeah, that's really vile.
The idea that a twin flame union has a divine masculine and a divine feminine.
Sure.
And that the divine masculine should be able to have sex every day.
It's a consensual journey. I mean, like, that's common sense with sex. You have to be, both parties have to be willing and choose that. And if at some point during, you know, the intercourse process, one party says, slow down, stop, I'm not comfortable, you should honor that.
This is how they speak in their videos in Twin Flame Ascension School, sometimes in their YouTube videos, and Life Purpose class, and whatever videos. So they're going into godlike mode. They're going into circle word salad mode to distract you from the actual question, in my personal opinion. So this is them in Ascension School, technically, in my personal opinion and experience.
Because there's kind of a back and forth on a video with you where you're explaining that Shaleia didn't want to have sex, but in a twin flame union, if one person does, then the other one sort of naturally does.
I'll let Shaleia answer the question.
Sorry, so can you repeat that again?
If there is a twin flame union,
Yeah.
and one person in the twin flame wants to have sex, then by
You guys saw the switch. Did you see how he starts laughing and acting like, woo? This is what they do in Twin Flame Ascension School. So they're trying to divert attention from what Avery's asking, grounded in evidence and truth. Word salad, and they really don't answer the question here. They really avoid it. And there is no evidence to back what they're saying either, in my personal opinion.
by nature of the mirrored of the two of them,
Okay.
then the other but one does as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's very nuanced because, you know, I feel very like we're in a very like intimate relationship. And so I have found that sometimes like if I didn't want to, but actually like I did, like he can kind of see that. And like it's very healthy for us to have sex. And it's always consensual and
Let's hear Jeff's definition of a cult. It's kind of funny since he's speaking about himself and Shaleia. Just listen to what he says. And there is a solid term of cult. You can literally Google it and find a solid term. So it's not an undecided term. That also is false and misinformation in itself.
like at the end of the day, like if it's a no, like it's a no, I don't want to. But like I have definitely, because we've been together so long, we're so intimate, like I've come to trust him. And like I know when he's saying like, maybe we should.
And it goes both ways too.
It goes both ways because sometimes like I'm the one that's like, hey.
I'm like, no, I don't want to. No,
You
no. And she's
know.
like, come on, And
Yeah.
often, it's true. Like, it ended up being that it was better that we did. And we
It
were
was
both
better
happy
that
in
we
end.
did in the end,
And sometimes, it wasn't the case, and I say, firm no, and she respects that. And
Yeah.
They're literally trying to sell themselves. This entire interview is just so they can get more money and more people. This is the elevator pitch that they use in Twin Flames universe in general, that even as a coach, you're taught to use to bring people in. In coaching, we re-go over this and different ways of doing it.
that's what we have in our relationship, and that's what we teach, toward in our community.
Yeah.
And do you think
David, can I just stop you?
Oh, yeah.
Can I have your water briefly?
Yeah.
Thanks. I might be blushing a bit. Yeah.
What's your definition of a cult?
Hold on, can you ask her again? Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Watch your
Hold on a
beers.
sec.
All cult leaders say no to things like this. It's true. Keith Raniere, I don't think other cult leaders in the past were called out as cult leaders until there was deaths. So I can only think of Keith Raniere. And most of the time it has to get really serious first before authority figures fully step in. Thankfully, if you watch at the end of the video, you'll see stuff that's happening.
Yeah. What's your definition of a cult?
So, as far as I understand, there's not a
And because this is taking a lot out of me, I might not get through the whole thing. But if you want to finish watching it, I'll also leave a link to the rest of the short 48-minute, 53-second video on top of the hour 30-second one too. All links will be below as a reminder.
agreed upon specific definition of a cult. What my personal definition of a cult is a harmful organization, a group.
Feeding a lie right now. They can't answer the truth. If you could answer the truth, this would all make sense. But lies on top of lies, it's really hard to get past lies. Once you start a lie and the layers are big, which they got a lot of layers to go through of lies, and they haven't taken any responsibility, in my personal opinion, yeah, It's not easy. And Jeff literally just describes himself and Shaleia of what a definition of a cult is. He just uses his words. And again, there is a solid term. I'll even look it up and add a link below so you can see the actual term of cults.
That extracts the well-being of its members in exchange for a delusion, and doesn't let them go. And I can see why, like, how easy a target Twin Flames universe can be for that, because Twin Flames seems like such a fantastical.
You can come and go as you please. Why did I get a cease and desist for speaking the truth with a Medium article? Just wondering. I would love an answer to that. You just felt like doing cease and desist to the truth, which you guys can check out that article, the articles below. So I'm going to try to get through at least a minute longer. I'll do my best, and then I'll leave the rest up to you guys. Thanks for watching with me and for hearing my side from an ex-member's perspective, on top of the other views. I like what some of them say, and their laughing is fun.
Idea. Like, you have an ultimate lover. You have someone who's perfectly designed for you, that completes you in every way, that grows with you.
But you do harm people. Because I'm tired of the circle game. And you guys got to see 28 minutes, 4 seconds with me. So thanks so much for watching this with me. I appreciate it. Please do. I highly recommend you watch everything below. It gives you lots of perspectives. I like to hear what other people have to say, even those who are not part of the group, because some of them do a lot of research, which is great. Thanks so much for being here with me. If you like my content and have any ideas what else you want to see me do, please like, subscribe, and share with friends, family, neighbors, anyone. Spread the word, share the channel, and leave a comment down below if you want to help the algorithm out. Embrace your truth, tell your story. You have a story to tell, I have a story to tell. So let's tell our stories. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your presence. Peace. Till next Saturday, everyone. Bye.